What if I told you the most expensive fish finder and the fanciest lure in your box are completely useless because of a 10-second mistake you made before you even started fishing? Today, we're not talking about bait or secret spots. We're talking about your auger. Specifically, those dull, chewed-up blades you've been meaning to replace for the last 2 seasons. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand why the sound of you drilling a hole might be the very reason your bucket is empty. It's the silent killer of a good fishing day, and almost everyone is guilty of it. So let me ask you this right now, and be honest in the comments. How often do you really check your auger blades for sharpness? Once a season? Never? Let's get into it. Look, we've all been there. We spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on our passion. We get the best rods, the most sensitive reels, the electronics that can practically tell you the fish's name. We obsess over line color, jig size, and whether to tip it with a minnow head or a wax worm. But the auger, for most guys, if it makes a hole, it's considered good to go. We see it as just a tool, a piece of hardware to get through the ice. It's a necessary chore before the real fun begins. Year after year, we just muscle through it. The auger starts to cut a little slower. It grabs and jumps, and we just put more weight on it, lean into it, and force it to do its job. We never stop to think about what's actually happening under the ice while we're up there making all that racket. We just assume the noise is part of the deal and that the fish just put up with it. Today we're going to shatter that assumption. Let's start by setting a scene. It's early morning, the sun is just starting to hit the ice. It's dead quiet out there. You can hear the ice popping and groaning the way it does when it's cold. You've walked out to your spot, you're excited, you pull the cord on your auger, it roars to life, and you start drilling. The engine is loud, sure, but that's not the sound we're talking about. We're talking about the sound of the blades themselves. If they're dull, you aren't cutting, you are grinding, chipping, and fracturing the ice. It's a slow, agonizing process. The whole auger shakes and vibrates in your hands. You might even have to pull it up once or twice to clear the slush, just to make progress. You're fighting the tool instead of working with it. This whole ordeal might take 30, 45 seconds, maybe even a minute per hole. All you're thinking about is getting that hole drilled so you can start fishing. You're completely unaware that you've just sent a massive warning signal to every living thing in a huge radius around you. Now let's talk about why that matters. Think about the world under the ice. It's a world of silence and subtlety. Sound travels almost 5 times faster and much, much farther in water than it does in air. And ice is an incredible conductor of vibration and sound. When you drop something on the ice 100 yards away, a fish can feel it. When you walk, they can feel the vibrations of your footsteps through the ice and into the water column. They live in a state of constant awareness because their survival depends on it. A sudden, loud, or unusual vibration means one thing to a fish: danger. It's a deeply ingrained instinct. It could be a predator, like an otter, hitting the ice from above. It could be the ice shifting dangerously. Their brain is hardwired to react to these signals by either freezing in place or bolting for the nearest cover or deep water. They don't stick around to figure out what the noise is, they just leave. This is where the difference between sharp and dull blades becomes critical. Imagine taking a brand new razor-sharp knife and slicing a piece of paper. It makes a clean, quiet shing sound. The cut is effortless. The paper doesn't tear or bunch up. Now imagine trying to cut that same piece of paper with a dull, dinged-up butter knife. You aren't cutting anymore. You're tearing and ripping. It's a loud, violent process. The paper crumples and fights back. That is exactly what is happening at the bottom of your auger. Sharp, well-maintained blades are like that razor knife. They shave the ice into fine powder. The auger pulls itself down into the hole with minimal effort from you. The entire process is faster, smoother, and believe it or not, significantly quieter in terms of the vibrations it sends through the ice. It's a clean, surgical incision. On the other hand, a dull blade is that butter knife. It doesn't shave, it chips. It fractures the ice in front of it, breaking it away in chunks instead of slicing it cleanly. This is why a dull auger grabs and jumps. It's catching on a piece of ice it can't cut, and then violently breaking it free. Every single one of those jumps, every groan of the metal, every shudder you feel in your arms, is being transmitted directly through the rigid structure of the ice and down into the water. It's not a clean shing sound, it's a low-frequency grinding rrrr that screams threat to the lateral line of every fish nearby. It's the difference between a whisper and a shout, and you've been shouting at the fish before you even say hello. It's no wonder they get lockjaw. They're terrified. Now let's get into the fish's head. Picture a big walleye suspended just off the bottom, perfectly comfortable, or a school of perch lazily finning near a weed edge. Their entire world is dictated by vibrations. They use their lateral line to detect the faint movements of baitfish, the approach of a predator, the subtle changes in current. It's their primary sense for detecting danger. Suddenly their whole world starts to shake with a low, grinding rumble from above. It's not a natural sound, it's violent, it's getting closer. What do you think that walleye is going to do? Is it going to think, oh, that must be a fisherman, I think I'll wait here for a tasty-looking jig? Of course not. Its instinct, honed over millions of years, screams at it to flee. It will either press itself into the bottom, making itself inactive, or more likely, it will move off the spot, heading for deeper, safer water, far away from the source of that terrifying noise. Here's a practical way to think about it. You see it all the time with new guys on the ice. They drill one hole and their buddy, who is 50 feet away, immediately sees all the marks on his fish finder vanish. They just disappear. The common thinking is, oh, the sound of the engine scared them. But that's only a small part of the story. The engine noise is mostly in the air. The real damage is done by the grinding vibration of those dull blades traveling through the solid ice. A sharp auger drilling a hole in 15 seconds with a smooth hiss might only spook the fish in a 10-foot radius. A dull auger taking a minute to grind and hammer its way through could be clearing out fish in a 50 or even 100-foot radius. You are effectively clearing the area of active, catchable fish before you even get a chance to fish for them. Let's talk about a specific scenario. You're targeting panfish in a relatively shallow weed bed, say 10 to 15 feet of water. Those fish are already skittish. They use the weeds for cover. When you come in with a dull auger, that grinding and vibration is amplified in the shallow water. You're not just drilling a hole, you're basically setting off a small earthquake right on top of their house. The fish don't just swim a few feet away. They bury themselves deep in the weeds or vacate the flat entirely. Then you drop your camera down and see nothing, or you drop your flasher in and see a blank screen and think, well, nobody's home. The truth is they were home. You were the one who served them an eviction notice with your dull blades. They heard you coming a mile away and decided they didn't want to be your neighbor. The proof is right there on your electronics if you know what to look for. Try this experiment. Go with a buddy. Have him sit and watch his flasher while you are a good distance away. First, drill a hole with a brand new, razor-sharp set of blades. He'll see the fish on his screen react for sure. They might drop to the bottom or shift a little. The screen will get nervous, but often they will settle back down fairly quickly. Now swap to a set of old, dull blades you have lying around. Go to a new spot the same distance away and start grinding a hole. Watch what he sees on his screen. It's not a nervous flicker, it's a complete wipeout. The marks just vanish. They are gone. That is the difference. That is the proof that the quality of the cut is everything. It's the difference between startling the fish and sending them into full-blown panic mode. So, what does a sharp blade sound like? The sound you want to hear is a high-pitched hiss. It should sound like slicing or shaving. The auger should feed itself into the ice with very little downward pressure from you. For a gas or electric auger, the engine or motor should maintain a steady, high RPM without bogging down. It should feel like you are guiding the machine, not forcing it. The result is a hole drilled in seconds, not minutes. The ice shavings that come up will look like snow, fine and powdery. This is the sign of an efficient, clean cut. This is the stealthy approach. You are minimizing your impact on the underwater world, which is the key to not spooking every fish before you even get started. It's a night and day difference in both feel and, more importantly, in sound. And what does a dull blade sound and feel like? It's the opposite in every way. The sound is a low-frequency groan and a grinding, chattering noise. You will feel the auger vibrate and shudder in your hands. It will frequently grab the ice and then suddenly lurch forward. You have to apply significant downward pressure to make it cut at all. The motor or engine will sound like it's struggling, bogging down under the load, and the ice shavings that come out won't be fine powder. They will be bigger chips and chunks of ice. If you see chunks instead of shavings, that is a dead giveaway that your blades are not cutting, they are fracturing. This is the noisy, inefficient fish-scaring method that so many anglers unknowingly use every single time they go out. It's a massive, self-inflicted handicap. Let's debunk a common myth while we're at it. Some old-timers will tell you, a little noise is good, it attracts the fish, it makes them curious. And in some very specific situations, like for lake trout in deep water, a certain amount of commotion can sometimes pique their interest. But for the vast majority of species, walleye, perch, crappie, bluegill, this is absolutely false. These are not typically aggressive ambush predators that investigate loud noises. They are cautious creatures whose survival depends on avoiding threats. The grinding of a dull auger is not a dinner bell, it's a fire alarm. The idea that you can make a huge racket and have the fish come running is wishful thinking. In reality, you're doing the equivalent of walking into the woods, screaming at the top of your lungs and then wondering why you don't see any deer. Consider the impact on hole hopping. A lot of successful ice anglers are mobile. They drill a lot of holes to find active fish. Now, if every single hole you drill is a noisy, grinding affair that takes a minute, you are systematically spooking fish out of every spot you approach. You drill a hole, the fish scatter. You drop your line in, get no bites for 10 minutes, and assume there are no fish. So you move 30 yards and do it all over again, chasing the fish across the lake without ever realizing it. A fisherman with sharp blades can drill 10 holes in the time it takes the other guy to grind out 2. He can quietly and efficiently explore a spot, find the fish that haven't been scared into the next county, and start catching them before the other guy has even finished scaring his second spot. This principle is even more critical when it comes to sight fishing in a shanty. You're in a dark house, looking down the hole. You can see the fish perfectly. You decide to drill a second hole inside the shanty for your dead stick or for your buddy. You fire up the auger with its dull blades and the whole house starts to vibrate. You can literally watch the fish on the screen or with your own eyes panic. They dart away, they dive for the bottom, they completely disappear. It's an immediate and dramatic reaction. It's the most direct evidence you can possibly get. If you've ever done this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now just imagine that same reaction happening every time you drill a hole outside the shanty. You just can't see it. But trust me, it's happening. What about electric augers? Many people think that because electric augers are quieter in terms of motor noise, they are inherently stealthier. And they are. But that advantage is completely erased if the blades are dull. The motor might be a quiet hum, but the grinding, chattering, and vibrating of the dull blades against the ice is just as loud and disruptive to the fish as it would be with a gas auger. In some ways, it's worse because it gives the angler a false sense of security. They think, my auger is quiet, I'm being sneaky. But the fish don't care about your engine. They care about the violent vibrations being sent through their ceiling. A sharp gas auger is 1,000 times stealthier than a quiet electric auger with dull blades. The blade is the business end, it's what matters. And let's not forget about hand augers. The principle is exactly the same. A sharp hand auger should bite into the ice and pull itself downward. You should be able to turn the handle with consistent, smooth pressure. A dull hand auger is pure misery. You have to lean on it with all your body weight. It skips and slides around, and it takes forever to drill a single hole. All that downward pressure and erratic movement creates a ton of vibration. You might think you're being quiet because there's no engine, but the struggle itself is broadcasting your presence. If you find that using your hand auger is a major physical workout, it's not because you're out of shape, it's because your blades are shot. A sharp hand auger is surprisingly easy to use and far, far quieter to the fish below. Another thing to consider is dirty ice or refrozen holes. This is the #1 killer of auger blades. If you accidentally drill through a little bit of sand or gravel that has blown onto the ice and frozen in, you can dull a brand new set of blades in a matter of seconds, and this is why you should always clear the snow and check the surface before you start drilling. And re-drilling old frozen over holes is also incredibly tough on blades. The ice in an old hole is often harder and less consistent. If you have to do it, go slow, but be aware that this is a prime way to ruin your edge. After drilling in questionable conditions, it's not a bad idea to give your blades a quick check. That one gritty hole could be the reason the rest of your day is a struggle. So how do you check your blades? It's simple, but you need to be careful. The easiest way is a visual inspection. Look at the cutting edge. Is it smooth and uniform? Or can you see nicks, dings, or flat spots? A major ding is an obvious problem, but even a slight rolling of the edge can make a huge difference. The second method is the thumbnail test, but please be extremely careful doing this. Gently, with no pressure, drag the back of your thumbnail across the cutting edge. A sharp blade will grab your nail and try to shave a tiny bit off. It will feel sticky. A dull blade will feel smooth, and your nail will just slide right over it without catching. If it doesn't catch your nail, it's not going to catch and shave the ice effectively either. When you discover your blades are dull, you have two options: sharpening or replacing. For most modern auger blades, especially the curved chipper style blades, replacement is almost always the better option. They are designed to be disposable. They are made with very specific angles that are nearly impossible to replicate perfectly by hand with a file. You might make them feel sharper, but if you change the cutting angle, they won't work correctly and may actually cut worse. A new set of factory sharp blades is a relatively small investment that pays huge dividends. Just buy 2 sets, keep one on the auger and a spare protected set in your sled. That way, if you dull a set on the ice, you can swap them out in 5 minutes and keep fishing effectively. Think about the cost-benefit analysis here. A new set of blades might cost you $25 to $40. Now think about the cost of a full day of ice fishing. Your gas to get to the lake, your bait, your time. It all adds up. Are you really going to let all of that go to waste because you were trying to save $30? Are you going to let a dull set of blades potentially ruin your entire day by spooking every fish you're trying to catch? It's one of the cheapest and most effective upgrades you can make to your entire ice fishing system. Treating your auger blades as a critical piece of terminal tackle, just like your hooks, is a mindset shift. Sharp hooks catch fish when they bite. Sharp auger blades ensure they are still there and willing to bite in the first place. So, the next time you're getting your gear ready, don't just throw the auger in the back of the truck. Take 30 seconds to check the blades. Protect them with a good cover. Don't just toss it on the ice where it can get nicked. Treat it like the precision instrument it is. This isn't some minor detail for pro fishermen. This is a fundamental concept that can be the difference between a great day and a frustrating one. It's the difference between drilling one hole and catching your limit versus drilling 50 holes and catching nothing but a cold. The respect you show your blades will be directly reflected by the number of fish you pull through the ice. It's that simple. It's the one thing that almost everyone gets wrong, and the easiest thing to get right. So let's put it all together. For years we've been blaming the barometric pressure, the wrong color jig, the finicky fish, or just plain bad luck. But the whole time, the real culprit, the reason for those long, fishless days, might have been the very first thing we did when we stepped on the ice. We were drilling holes with dull, grinding blades that screamed danger to every fish in the area. The real turning point in your ice fishing isn't buying a new lure, it's realizing that your auger is not just a tool to make a hole, it is your first introduction to the fish down below. And for too long, many of us have been making a terrible first impression. From now on, before every single trip, you're not just going to check your bait, you're going to check your blades. You'll start thinking about fishing from the moment your auger touches the ice, not just when your line hits the water. Thank you for watching. If this just saved your next ice fishing trip, do me a favor and hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on more tips that the old timers won't tell you. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments. What's the one piece of common knowledge in fishing that you think is completely wrong? Let's get a good debate going down there.